everyone. Welcome to the CXO Spice Talk. Today's topic is cloud economy. I have Alok Ramsisaria here with me. Alok is the CEO at Grazitti Interactive, a digital innovation leader helping companies with marketing automation, sales optimization, and cloud innovation services. Alok has been a CTO and founders at multiple tech companies, working with the largest online marketing companies and the most complex software companies. So Alok, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Helen. Pleasure to be here.
We first met in 2011 when I was at Adobe. At the time, you had 10 employees at Grazitti. Now, 10 years later, you have 800 plus employees, and then you've shifted from a pure MSP service provider to a multi-range technology provider as well. So tell us more about how did you grow the company? How did you get to the cloud business?
I think we just got incredibly lucky. Actually, the company was founded by my wife, and she started the business because she had just come out of taking care of my mom and my mom-in-law who had cancer at the same time. So she didn't want to go back to work. So she said, let me start doing something on my own. In 2011, actually very close to the time I met you, they signed on Marketo as a customer. And he told me that, hey, Alok, it's a good time for you to join. And we can finally afford our house bills now. Wow. And so that's how I joined the business. But the journey from there has been very exciting. I mean, our focus was always to do right for the customer, right? I think we are still part of the generation that said do the thing right, and instead of worrying about doing the right thing. So we did the thing right, and our customers told us what was the right thing to do. So in 2011, we worked with Heather and Patricia at Adobe, and they're still customers. Patricia at Adobe and Heather across 3 different companies. And we've hung on to our relationships, invested in those relationships. And that I think is the single most reason why we are where we are. All the challenges that came across the way, we found that somebody or the other helped us cross that challenge. When we went from 10 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, and from 200 to 500. And even when we hit 800, my HR had to tell me, hey, Alok, we are 800. I have 250 openings. So we're going to be 1,000 soon. So you better plan your space. So I've been blessed, as I said, to have great customers. And I'm blessed to have great people who've placed their trust in the organization. We have over 100 people who've completed 5 years. We have over half a dozen people. Out of the 10, 5 are still around. So
wow, so that's inspiring. I remember, right, you used to come to my office at when I was at Marketo. You actually built our offshore team for us, right? So I would just say that absolutely having worked with you and Grazitti really helped us strengthen our really extended the team bench. I know you're very passionate about technology and trends. You're always up to date with current affairs. Some even say that your hunch about things, being either financial or operational or anything, is almost always on point. So that's one of the major reasons that Grazitti did exceptionally well throughout last year, because you prepared the team really well, and you really were really predicted the uncertainty. So what is your take on the cloud market? What are the key challenges you've seen?
Sure. I think, let me just take a minute and talk about the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And thank you for the compliment. I think I just read a lot. It's just been a habit because, I've experienced when one was not well versed, you don't make optimal decisions if you're not well informed. And I think anybody would make the same decisions given the same set of data points. But at the beginning of the pandemic, we were hit with a huge amount of uncertainty. And uncertainty whether the organization would survive, whether any of us would survive. all around us, we were seeing companies taking preemptive action, cutting salaries, cutting jobs, creating even more, the uncertainty was creating more damage than
Mhm.
the pandemic itself had done at that point. So we decided not to put the cart before the horse. We said, okay, here is a transparent decision making structure for everybody in office.
Mhm.
I mean, the other part that I think I am, the one thing I'm good at is that I am very good at understanding my own emotions.
Mhm.
And I believe that if I can tap into my own emotions, this is how most people would think. So if you can address your own emotions, then you can probably address everybody else's emotions if you treat them on the same platform. So we addressed people's uncertainty, first of all. And then we gave them a transparent decision making platform. And we told them that we are not going to preempt any problems that we might encounter. When we encounter them, this is how we will react. So it
Mhm.
was very clear to people how we would do. And he said the first charge would be on us as the privately held organization. The charge would be on our profits or even on our salaries, and then we would actually go and look at anybody else's, and we promised not to cut anybody's jobs
Mhm.
as long as we were able to stay afloat. uh, but the promise was that we preserve jobs, salaries, and we would also promise that we would preserve all the offers we made out. Those guys had taken a chance on us, right?
Mhm.
We can't let them go because the situation had changed. And I've actually written an article on LinkedIn about why organizations need to step up and take ownership
Mhm.
of their actions more than just their balance sheet. And I think, in general, if you look at where the world is going, the conversation is more around creating purpose-driven organizations, not profit-driven organizations.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we have been believers in that from the day one. So as the economy has moved to the cloud, I mean, there are very strong economic reasons for, especially startups. They get access to
Mhm.
a really enterprise grade software at a throwaway price, if you will, and they're able to set up systems and processes which only large companies could aspire to. So there is
Mhm.
a very natural tendency to grow to cloud, and we were lucky in the initial part to be working with Salesforce. We were actually a Salesforce user even before, right in 2008 when the company started. We were doing some interesting Salesforce projects for very large companies in the US, and we have never looked back on the Salesforce cloud. And, the
Mhm.
Salesforce cloud is probably the best example of how one company has created value, so much value for so many different stakeholders, and especially the partner ecosystem. Right? I think I haven't seen a fairer partner player than Salesforce. And there have been other players who were fairer when they, for example,
Mhm.
Microsoft was very great in the early 80s and 90s. But as their products became slightly behind the times,
Mhm.
you, their partner outreach also faltered. Whereas Salesforce has been a great partner in terms of empowering, training, and creating, win-win-win value systems.
Mhm. Well,
Where all players win.
yeah, that's actually I'm a firm believer in that growth thrives at intersection of technology and humanity. And what you described exactly right. What you've been not just caring about the bottom line, but then the ecosystem as well. How do you think the cloud market contributed to the global economy? Um,
So I think one of the biggest contributions that the cloud economy has done is to, for example, empower every corporation to work remotely. Without the cloud economy, it would not have been possible.
mhm,
I remember the old days when you used to fall sick and you could not afford to give, high-end laptops and power books to your design team. So those guys would have to come to office no matter what. And here we have an 850-person organization which went remote in the space of a week because everybody was working on their laptops and they were at home, and we had to obviously invest in more software. But it was possible because all of our systems were on the cloud or accessible through private cloud data centers that we had set up for our own applications. And a lot of our work is on cloud application like Salesforce, Marketo, Adobe Experience Manager, Service Cloud, ServiceNow,
mhm,
Tableau,
yeah,
and Snowflake, all cloud software. Where so it's because of the cloud that I think we were able to ride out the pandemic so well
Mhm,
in terms
mhm.
of impact, at least on the tech sector.
Absolutely. So Gartner predicts that 70% of enterprise workloads will be in cloud by 2024. That's 3 years or less than 3 years, right? However, 3 out of 4 organizations today do not have a fit for purpose cloud strategy. I've been working with many executive leaders who are eager to learn how to enable and sponsor business-driven cloud strategy efforts. So, given that Grazitti offers a wide range of services and products in the digital space, what is that one practice you would recommend to those who don't know where to start?
So I think the CRM is now the hub of
Mhm,
your cloud. Uh, Start with the digital experience of your customers and build everything to move all the other experiences, whether it's the
mhm,
employee experience, and move it to the cloud. Because if you start with the digital experience, the
mhm.
the customer and the prospect experience is the head that wags the enterprise, right? If you will,
Yeah.
wags the tail, if you will. So I would strongly recommend starting with the parts of the organization that impact the customer. So the entire digital,
Mhm,
from suspect to prospect to customer to advocate, right?
mhm,
Demand and customer acquisition, sales operations, sales optimization, support, advocacy, and business analytics to drive this whole customer cycle. And then connect other business systems. Finance is now on the cloud. ERP is on the cloud. Connect those business systems, and you can do it in parallel if you're a large organization.
mhm.
You can do it serially, but start with the customer experience first. That's the one that's going to be the easiest to adapt, and it will allow you to get in touch with your customers much faster.
Mhm.
And pandemic or no pandemic, everybody can be working from home.
Yeah. So speaking of that, right, I know you have a fairly large Salesforce practice. Um, but how did you start that, right? How has the significance of your Salesforce practice helped you grow in the cloud space and even or even others?
Right. So I think it's not just a Salesforce practice. We
Mhm.
actually started on the cloud with Marketo.
Okay.
So it
Yeah.
is now part of the Adobe cloud.
Yeah.
But we're implementing Salesforce at Marketo at that
Yeah.
time. And so we've written on the coattails of Salesforce meteoric rise.
Hmm.
But we've also been lucky. We've actually been a vendor to Adobe since the first AEM6 came out.
Hmm.
We've been also lucky that if you look at, you're seeing the emergence of best class products in the cloud as well.
Yes.
So whether it is in marketing automation or B2B, you see Adobe.
Yeah.
B2C, you see Salesforce Marketing Cloud.
Hmm.
CRM, Salesforce. Service, we see, and support, we see ServiceNow and Service Cloud, and even Zendesk at the lower end, or Freshdesk, or and even on the marketing automation side, you see HubSpot and some of the other players creeping up.
Hmm.
So there are best-in-class players. There's Khoros on the community side. There's Higher Logic on the community side. So the we took a strategy that we will not say no to any customer engagement,
Hmm.
and we invested in every customer engagement, trying to build up our capabilities. So I'm proud to say that we today have best in class. We have 2 Google MVPs. We have 1 Khoros MVP and
Hmm.
1 Khoros All Star and 4 Khoros MVPs. We have 250 people in Salesforce practice, out of whom our work has been featured in Dreamforce keynotes. Um, so every team and every product, and as I mentioned, we helped Adobe with their first AEM6
Hmm.
release. So in all those clouds, we built up expertise over the period of time. Partly because we also invested very strongly in the front end capabilities. Our if you look at the cloud work, there are only 3 tasks you got to do apart from the configuration at the admin. You have to paint, which is the interface. You have to plumb, which is the integrations,
Hmm.
and you have to optimize, right? Which is where some deep expertise is required. We were very strong on both the front end technologies and the capabilities.
Hmm.
We were in 2011, we were doing Twitter Bootstrap responsive designs, and we're very strong on integrations given the number of clouds we work in.
Yeah.
So that sort of has been our strength. that we work in a number of clouds, and we in each of those we try and build expertise, and we've been blessed to have customers.
Mhm.
So, my standing joke is that if a customer and a prospect are walking on Market Street in San Francisco, I have two customers.
That's absolutely a strategy and vision, right? You're a visionary. Tell me a little bit more about this Search Unify. That's something new since we last spoke.
Yes, yes. So as we've done so many implementations of cloud products at customers,
Mhm.
there are recurring patterns that we are able to recognize
Yep.
and challenges and gaps in the current product offerings. So for some of them, we created solutions.
Mhm.
And one of those solutions was to implement full text search, especially for the support use case.
Mhm.
And after doing half a dozen of those implementations, we found that we had accumulated enough intellectual property to actually create a product of our own. So Search Unify came as a result of our experiences as implementing support systems
Mhm.
and finding gaps in those. And building Search Unify actually has been very satisfying over the last 4 years. We've been featured in Forrester. We have almost 50 customers, including the biggest names in the business. Um, you know, whether it's Rubrik or Pure Storage or any of the large tech companies, you will find it sitting on their support side. And the other fundamental observation that we got, which is driving this, is that I believe search is a core technology,
Mhm.
just like databases. Everybody needs a full text search strategy, whether it is today we are spending almost, 2/3 of our day searching,
Mhm.
as opposed to doing alone. We are looking for stuff all the time, whether it's on the public web or on the internal web. In fact, one of the challenges in onboarding new employees today is that we don't have systems set up. So we're trying to solve that problem. Similarly, there are other problems in connecting clouds. We built a connector called Synergify, connecting Jira, the
Mhm.
engineering world, with both Sales Cloud as well as for sales engineering requests, and Service Cloud for support engineering requests. And similarly, we've built Cartivio, which is a product for integrating marketing automation with your e-commerce front end, whether it's Shopify, whether it is
Mhm.
Magento with Marketo or Eloqua or whatever else you have on the marketing automation side, so that you can build parts of the seamless experience that you get from like an Amazon marketplace. And so similarly, as we implemented lots of these systems, started building our repository of intellectual property, which we are trying to monetize using products or solutions. So for example, our earliest success was building communities on the Salesforce platform, which we used to sell as quick start communities, which
Mhm.
we would deploy in about a month when the nearest competition would say 6 months.
Wow, that's such a impressive journey you've had, right? So now here comes the $1 million question. What do you think the future of cloud would look like?
As you said, when we started the company, it actually started with the Gartner prediction that the CMO's office would spend more than the CIO's office
Mhm.
back in 2005. That was the prediction. And I agree with your Gartner's prediction. In fact, I think current predictions are that the cloud market will be almost $1 trillion market by 2025.
Mhm.
It's actually 876 something that the number is, but I think it's $1 trillion market. Because as Nadella said, we've gotten 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. So I expect that to only accelerate. And I expect that the sooner every organization figure out its cloud strategy, um, the better they will be in terms of realizing the economic as well as the ergonomic. I mean, as we move to a more sustainable world, the ability to centralize data centers and run on the cloud will actually reduce the inefficiency that you do with private data centers,
Mhm.
with maintaining big gen sets powering large offices, as we've already seen. REI sold its new building in Seattle
Mhm.
just pandemic started, and we'll see more and more of that happening. This distributed nature of work is only going to be empowered more and more by the cloud.
Mhm.
The only challenge I see is for in the mid-size, there is some amount of what I call SaaS fatigue. So, the cost of adding a new employee For some of the mid-sized organizations starts getting a little prohibitive. And I
Yeah.
think we need to see some innovative pricing models, more than the standard per user. And there are lots of those available.
Mhm,
In fact, some of our products, we use a flat um,
mhm,
band pricing rather than a per user pricing, which a lot of our customers have appreciated.
mhm,
Or in case of Search Unify, we do a usage-based pricing.
mhm.
That software is written, why should I be charging you per user? I should be charging you based on the resources and a premium for the IP that we are licensing.
That
So
makes sense, right? More value-based, value-driven pricing. And then, so where do you think the organizations should channel a bigger part of their energy when it comes to cloud? You talk about earlier, right, with me, you talk about your AI engineer, you talk about the multi-cloud and other things, and then there's the sustainability as part of the topic. Can you elaborate that a little bit?
I think sustainability, everybody's realized, and especially with the new political leadership in the United States, that we only have one Earth, right? The highest priority, and COVID has proven that even more, that this is the one home that we all need to preserve.
Mhm.
Uh, it doesn't matter whether we make money or not. Uh, if you don't have a home to come back to, there's no point of life. So I think sustainability is now key. In fact, we're putting up a new building, and along with the building, I'm putting up a solar farm so that we will get all our power from that solar farm. And I think organizations the world over, you've seen the net zero declarations from companies, and they're moving their targets up. And I
Mhm.
think that's going to be key to the cloud as well, because data centers continue to be some of the largest consumers of energy. And this is why they can be more efficient about the energy consumption as well as where they get their energy from. I see the multi-cloud evolving because best-in-class solutions will continue to be diverse.
Mhm.
No one company can claim to be best in class. While there might be consolidation in some large enterprises, but I think uh, innovation and uh, is key to human existence. So everybody will continue to innovate. So you'll see new cloud products emerging, new cloud solutions emerging, which will slowly take on some of the cankerous old solutions we might be talking about 10 years from now. Hey, this guy is really old hat, and this really new CRM product is doing us amazingly well. So as the cloud becomes more successful, more and more companies will invest in the cloud, and you will see more and more innovation in the cloud as well.
Absolutely. Wow, it has been such an insightful discussion with you, Alok. Truly, the explosion of cloud has changed the face of how enterprise do business, and it certainly, shows no sign of slowing down. So for all, for our audience, I would like just to recap, right, what I learned from you. The number one is your Alok and Grizitti's vision. While venturing into the cloud market is a vision that works, right? That catering to as many customers as possible with unique solutions that stay with the customer, that really focus on customer first approach, will really pay dividends in the cloud market. That's number one. Number two is the cloud market definitely came to the rescue of the global economy through the pandemic, and it's
Right.
still going very strong, right? Cloud has evolved from a good to have to a must have. Number three is that Grazitti's decision to keep Salesforce practice at the forefront of your competencies in the cloud market surely hit a home run. The giant that Salesforce is in the cloud world, you kept very close, which on its growth and their customer needs enabled them to create custom Salesforce solutions, most of which are not available natively within the Salesforce clouds. So when you think about any solution, Salesforce cloud, we can go to Grazitti.
Yeah.
Lastly, right? Lastly, on the lines of what you just said, Alec, the future of cloud is bright. Trends like AI engineering, multi-cloud and joint cloud provider offerings, and the sustainable cloud are what will rule the cloud landscape in the next year or two. with that, we've reached the end of this amazing discussion. I want to thank you, Alok, for taking up the time to discuss cloud economy with me today. It has been an absolute delight to have you host you at a CXO Spice Talk. For those of you who are watching today, I'm sure all of you are going to benefit from this discussion. I look forward of having you come to the show next time.
Thank you very much, Helen. My pleasure being here. Always a delight to talk to you, and my privilege that I've been able to know you for the last 10 years. Thank you very much.
Likewise, Alok. Talk soon. All right. Bye.